the hardest parts about trying to market yourself as an artist?
I find it like, as an underground artist, it's hard to get publicity in an environment that's becoming more and more about celebrity and who you are and having a name and stuff like that. So as I'm trying to promote myself, there's a billion so-called underground artists doing the same thing and trying to push their music on people and saying, check my stuff out, this and that. So people kind of get into the mindset of, oh, this is gonna be trash, because the reality is a lot of it is trash. Mm-hmm. Like, even I will say that when people put stuff in my inbox and everything. So you have to present your craft a certain way, make it different than what everybody else is doing. But one of the issues I'm finding now is that real hip-hop, which is what I consider my music to be, is starting to make a comeback, right? But real hip-hop heads, people who support real hip-hop, don't really support real hip-hop. And what I'm saying is, like, they'll post stuff about it, like, Jay-Z came out with his album recently, so you saw 444 up and down people's timelines and stuff like that, with hashtag real hip-hop and everything, people shouting out real hip-hop. So there's a thirst for real hip-hop, right? But they don't really look on the underground scene, because real hip-hop never went anywhere, right? Underground artists are still doing real hip-hop. They don't support that stuff. So, like, the real hip-hop heads are passionate about supporting it when it's on the mainstream level, but they're not passionate about really supporting it. I could put my stuff out there and say, yo, put the hashtag real hip-hop, but if my name ain't Jay-Z, my name ain't Kendrick Lamar or something like that, they're not gonna listen to it, right? So what I'm finding recently is, like, some people who I would previously put in that box of, oh, they corny because they only listen to mainstream hip-hop, some of them are more adamant or more passionate about supporting my music than the real hip-hop heads, because the real hip-hop heads are, like, pessimistic about stuff, they're just turned off to all music or whatever, so they don't really want to give anything a chance. The other people, the people who support mainstream or commercial hip-hop or whatever, they'll shout my stuff out if they listen to it, because they're passionate about stuff, they get excited about stuff, they'll support anything, really, because they support that trash just on the radio. But a lot of them don't even know that much about real hip-hop for whatever reason. That generation hasn't been educated on the music that came before him, but so when they hear it, they're like, oh, what's this? You know what I'm saying?
It's a fresh sound.
Yeah, that's why they get so hype about Kendrick's album, got so hype about Jay-Z, like it's their first time that was ever done. Yeah. You know what I mean? And when I was doing that since I first came out, when I first started doing hip-hop, when I was 15 years old, I was doing that type of stuff. But I think that's one of the hardest things. I'm finding that to be one of the challenges I'm running into now. You know what I mean?
Why do you feel artists like you don't get enough recognition on a mainstream level?
It's not what's popular necessarily right now. Mumble rap is popular now.
Right.
And hip-hop, in a nutshell, without getting into detail about it, hip-hop is one of the most powerful tools for communication that exists, right? So, being that that's the case, the powers that be, people who run the industry, white people, whatever you want to call it, I ain't gonna bite my tongue about it. If they know that, and this is a tool that can potentially change the world, and they're running the industry, they're going to take that tool and manipulate it and make it so that it can be something powerful for the community. So over time, again, without going into tremendous detail about it, they've taken it and slowly but surely kind of changed it from what it used to be, this, the voice of the streets, Black Power type stuff, and then, Public Enemy, X-Clan, all type of groups are doing it. And they took it and manipulated it and changed it slowly into other forms, and then now it's downgraded to basically you're not even saying anything, mumble rap, whatever. Alright, so being that that's the case and that's the popular thing on the radio now, my style of music, which I was doing since day one, because I saw this change happening even when it wasn't this bad. I saw it happening, and I stayed true to what I believe hip-hop should be, and I kept doing the same style of music throughout this whole transition. Now it's slowly trying to creep back in with the Kendricks and Jay-Z trying to all of a sudden be conscious and all of that. So it's trying to, squeeze back in there a little bit, and I may become more relevant, which is the ironic thing behind it. Like, I've been doing this for so long, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, you know what I'm saying? Now it's finally coming back in. But what I find is that stuff doesn't become popular until white people say it's popular, right? Black people are the trendsetters. We create the trends, but they don't become mainstream until white people say, okay, this is a trend now. So black people get too caught up and following behind and I'm focusing on black people because, you know, we are the creators of hip hop, but, you know, the hip hop heads or real people who claim they support real stuff, as I was kind of alluding to in the last question, don't really support anything until it becomes popular, or they know that and they just don't support anything. All right. So most people, the masses, all right, most people won't recognize anything until that stamp of approval is put on it. You know what I'm saying? So while we set the trends and while we are the creators and the innovators, it's like we're not at the same time. Like it starts in our communities or whatever, and, you know, it branches out there into the world, but until the people who are controlling that stuff grab hold of it and say, put this on the radio, we're gonna make this a thing now, we don't really support it. We don't really recognize it as being popular. So we are the trendsetters, but we're not the trend makers, I guess you could say.
The trend makers are the Caucasians or
Right.
white people, whatever you call it. I found that they are more of consumers of hip hop.
They are. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Like they actually put the money into it. They actually go out and buy it. They go to the shows. And real hip hop, that's a good point, because real hip hop, what's considered real hip hop, I find a lot of their shows and stuff are largely supported by like white audiences.
Do you think they're them being consumers, or like what's setting the trends?
I don't know, like the younger generation is a little bit different. Like they kind of are grouped in with that white crowd to an extent. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's all just one group now. But yeah, I think now with the maybe under 20 crowd, it kind of goes like hand in hand as far as like mainstream. It's just, you know, it's all blending together now. And some people might look at that and say it's a good thing. But then there's theories about, they go all the way back to people talking about how segregation, getting rid of segregation was a bad thing. A lot of black people say that because it got rid of our like individuality and support of our own communities and all that type of stuff. So you could even put a lot of that into it and say it's a, you know, go back to that theory to some degree and relate that to this and say how it's a bad thing, because we're losing our soul in all of this. And that's really what it boils down to. Like the soul of the music, the soul of our creativity is being taken out of everything. And it's done on purpose. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, back to the original question, I think that's why music like mine is not popular. And even if you talk about like the Kendricks and J. Cole's to a degree, and I mean, Jay-Z they might be the only three people on the mainstream level. Jay-Z's new to it now, you know, talking like conscious stuff and everything. They might be the only three people that's like on the mainstream level that's doing hip hop that still has that soul in it. Yeah. So, but if you look at them, it's those three, and they're mainstream artists. Like they're out there. So it's like, are they really going to pave the way for other artists to get out there, or is it just going to be for them? Jay-Z has the power to do it now. You know, it's good in the way that he's doing it because, you know, it's better than him not doing it. But